This is a roundtable chat time. We're like 1 hour in. Okay. So I think this one could be like a minute if everybody wants to chime in. Like, how did you end up in the creator space? I think this is a session that I'll probably be cutting and posting once we get everybody's approval. So like, I just want to understand, how do you guys end up? What's your origin story in the creator space? I can start first. So I worked on creator monetization when I was at Pinterest. It was Pinterest's like first ever money throwing program to incentivize creator to generate evergreen content. I learned a lot through that program. Like Johnny can probably talk more later. And then I think through that program, I realized I want to improve my own writing because Pinterest has like a strong focus in reading and writing. So I started a newsletter on LinkedIn and Substack. So that's how I pivoted in. I don't know. I think for my next job, I'll probably prefer being in the creator space, but I understand it's a very competitive field. So we'll see what happens. All right, Anthony, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I entered into the creator space back in 2013, and the way that happened is my college roommate at the time. My college roommate was the first employee at Patreon and was moving up to San Francisco, and it was just 3 people, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking to hire people to onboard creators. We need to get creators onto Patreon." And I was living in LA, and I was looking to work at a startup, just seeing some other friends working at a startup. They were learning a lot more than what I was doing. What was my first job? I was like just doing sales at like a B2B company. And I wanted to join a startup. I liked watching YouTube videos and looked at the site for Patreon. I was like, whoa, this is like dealing with YouTube creators. Like, I'm 100% down to just do whatever it takes. So in 2013,
Oh, did he
moved up to San
freeze?
Francisco.
Oh no.
Oh
Okay,
no.
all right. So can you hear us? One sec.
Yeah.
Can you hear
So
us?
so
Okay.
Riverside will store everything locally. So if you freeze when you get the recording, everything should be totally fine. Just FYI.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Okay.
I don't know where I cut out,
Yes.
but
Okay.
basically moved up to San Francisco. Was like the second employee at Patreon, and at the time was just literally finding email lists from people who were writing blogs, scraping YouTube for YouTube channel emails of creators on YouTube and podcasters and webcomics, and yeah, just fell in love with the creator space, and it was really easy to fall in love with it when like everything was going really well, like everything was great. So yeah, I've kind of just been in the space for the last 10 years now, and I can't see myself going to a different space. It's very, very fun, and I just think the future is around people creating content. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Regan, do you want to go next?
Sure. So like I said before, I got into it kind of almost serendipitously when I joined TikTok. No one was focused on it. It sounded interesting to me, so I wanted to focus on it. But then I really fell in love with the space, and I kind of started to understand how much value that people that create content, like everyone consumes people's content every day, whether it's you learn something, you're entertained, or whatever. The big problem in this space, though, is that everyone's getting value from the creator economy, except the creators. Really, it's really, really, really hard for you to be successful in the creator economy as a creator. The platforms make a lot of money. The consumers of content get a lot of value, but I think the people that don't get enough value for how much they put in is the creators. So I really enjoy kind of trying to advance that mission of making the distribution of return, I guess, or value in this space more equitable for creators, because everyone gets so much value from them every day. So now I'm at a platform that ostensibly is aligned to that mission. I think when you work for a big platform, the incentives of the platform and the incentives of the creator are not always directly aligned in a way that's favorable for the creator. Like, platforms really make their money from advertising and off consumers. Plus, it's really, really competitive. So as a platform, you have millions of creators, right? So there's always, well, not always, but usually a healthy amount of content supply. And so it just means that oftentimes like the creators are not like the top priority, despite, you know, what the platforms like say publicly. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into this space. I'd really like to stay in this space. I think the area that I want to be working in this space that I'm kind of already started working in is how does generative AI apply to the creator economy? And so for me, I think it's about helping creators be more efficient. It's not necessarily about creating content for creators, replacing creators. I don't think that's realistic. I think it's more about how do we help creators do more with the content that they already have. I think a couple people on this call already talked about like, yeah, I created for this platform and I'm thinking about TikTok and I'm thinking about these other platforms, but I just don't have the time to really focus on that. And I think that's true for a lot of creators. But the reality is that if you want to be successful because of how competitive it is, you need to be multi-platform. And I think generative AI can do a really good job of taking content that you already have and repurposing it, like repackaging it, and optimizing it for a variety of distribution channels. So for me, I think that's a really interesting space to be in at the confluence of the creator economy.
Okay, I think you froze for like
generative
2
AI.
seconds, but I kind of guessed that you're talking about like that's
Yeah,
really
I think y'all got it.
okay. Yeah.
It
So
will be
those are
available
good insights.
6 minute
Thank
post.
you. All right. Okay, Vanessa, do you want to go next?
Oh, sure. Okay. So, as I mentioned before, I started being a creator by writing like Chinese answers in a Chinese version of Quora, which is called Zhihu. Then, I think at that time it's because when I like browsed the questions, there were many questions like how can I become a product manager? How because in China you don't have like a course or a, a discipline called product management. So everybody like sort of transfer to being a product manager. So a lot of people who are just like me transferred from a designer role. So I feel I successfully did the change. I should tell more people. And in fact, last Friday, I met a designer who read my Zhihu post, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Then, after reading, she sent me a message on the platform, and I also replied to her. Then, used that knowledge and that experience, she applied to, I think, University of Washington or another some universities, and she got a UX design degree. Then she became a like successful UX designer, then a product manager. So I think that's just a case I know of, and I met the people in person. But I guess with the like a lot of views, I may actually help some people. So that's the beauty of writing things like that. And also, when I wrote things, I was not so like senior in the industry. I also took advice from a more senior person, like design directors and like senior product managers. So I learned a lot too. Then all of this was before I joined ByteDance. ByteDance workload really didn't leave me enough time to do this kind of like content creation. But now I'm still not so far away from the content creators because I still work on the creative tools team. So we design tools and functions to like empower our creators. My recent focus is using effects and generative AI to help people like make content that is fun and that they enjoy. So we know that like Midjourney is out there, but there is a barrier to use Midjourney. you have to know how to get to Discord, and you have to know all those like prompts. But for TikTok, it's a more like mass audience platform. So there's actually no barriers. Everyone can participate in the trend, and everyone can create their own content. We launched a effect called Stylized with AI. So basically, you can type anything and you can turn your image into the style that you ask it to be. So if you type in like Spider-Man, you type in Barbie, it will turn your picture into that style. So yeah, I still feel close to the creator community, and I always enjoy like doing things around creation and creators.
That's awesome. That's a really wholesome story that you are learning and sharing on the internet can help people. I think that's pretty awesome. That's what keeps me going from other than that I don't have that much going on in my life for now. But that keeps me going to publish the LinkedIn and Substack and Beehive newsletter every week. I really enjoy doing that as well. All right. Okay, Elva, you're next. Do you want to talk about how you end up in the space?
Cool. Well, I'm still not really in the space yet. I think I would like to, but I think I have to act based on where my industry is and what is actually probably the right thing to do right now, given the stage. So, you know, when I worked in YouTube, I worked on the premium media side, where the creators that you can think of are all gigantic enterprises who spend billions of dollars creating content every year. So their businesses are already set. What we were really doing is helping with kind of making sure that these businesses have a better way of distributing their creations, given, you know, internet has taken over how everyone accesses content. And now coming to VR, it's a whole different ball game where there is no mature business at all. There is no proven product. And everyone's sort of finding the 0 to 1, and the cost for creation is very high. So any game you can think of or product in VR is, you know, at the minimum, probably Unity based, or maybe it'll become a little easier, but you still probably need to be primarily a app developer. In VR media, there's things that are interesting around creating media formats that no one has ever seen before or can't actually see on a flat screen. So you can kind of get spherical videos that actually wrap around a user, spatial, or allows someone to move around in, which is where we would like to be. But all that to say is I'm in the field of advancing the medium or the format that your creation can be in. And what we're all doing is doing higher cost investments until it is more proven and easier. And so in the future, imagine something like, oh, if you want to teach somebody a new language, you can make words appear in the air that people can grab with their hands while they're learning with you. And this can distribute to as many people as possible. Or you could make, spatially aware creations. When people walk around on the street, something will pop up. Your voice might pop up. Your product might pop up in the air. Maybe the sky's color will change based on, what people are collecting from your store, right? Things like that. So there's a lot of things that are kind of out there, still very, very 0 to 1. But yeah, I'm excited to be in a 0 to 1 space and hopefully making it, easier for everybody to engage in and find the really strong product market fit so that, it becomes a more day-to-day technology that consumers actually use.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Elva, for sharing. All right, Johnny, you're next.
All right, so I'll try to keep it brief. It's probably a little bit similar to Anthony's, but I first got into the creator space through Patreon. I got in touch with Jack Conte and Sam Yam, the founders of Patreon, probably about 10 years ago, when I was still in college at Stanford. So the founders were also from Stanford, so I got in touch with them. And they basically were in such an early stage of the site, like Anthony probably remembers, I think the homepage probably had about only 5 creators, and I think those were all like pretty much all the creators on the site. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but like, it was like that small scale. Um, but I thought it was just a huge opportunity because at the time there's almost nothing available for creators. Um, like 10 years ago, it was kind of like Kickstarter was an option. I think like Gumroad was just there. But most of the big tech companies were not focused on creators as a priority. They were really focused on just like regular consumer growth, and creators were, I mean, YouTube had programs, but like it was like, oh, you had maybe
Do
1%
we
if you're a creator,
freeze
just
a
like
little
any
bit,
revenue, and now
or is it
there's
just
probably
just
like
me?
10 or 15 ways or something like that that you can probably monetize on YouTube. So I was really excited about the idea, and I wound up joining Patreon first as an intern doing engineering, uh, building an iOS app in the early days. Um, so that was really awesome. Uh, and then wound up coming back after I graduated to be the first product manager um, when the company wasn't even sure that they wanted to have product managers. So I kind of had to convince them that they should have one instead of just 20 engineers basically figuring things out amongst themselves. So that was my kind of jumping off point into the creator economy, and then got me started to work on creator projects across many different companies over the past 8 years.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I feel like we could even do a podcast one day, just talk about like early days of startup. That sounds fascinating. That you had to convince them that, oh, they need a PM. That's pretty cool. All right, Kelly, do you want to? Oh, okay, I think you need to unmute first. Do you want to go next, and then before we go to the next topic?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I actually have a question. So I wonder how many people here are creators themselves?
Yeah, I think.
Everyone seems to be passionate about working around content creators. So I wonder, like, are
Yeah.
you creators yourself, or yeah, if not, then why? But yeah, let me introduce
Yeah,
myself
you
first.
do. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So how I got into creator space. So in 2017, 2018, I started, I wanted to transition from data analyst to data scientist. And I took a bootcamp in San Francisco and learned a lot of things. And along the way, I share my learning experience and also my job search experience on Medium. And first, I wrote an A/B testing blog post, and that got super viral and was included in Meta's data scientist interview guide and also Pinterest data scientist interview guide. And then I wrote another post about how to land the job at your dream company and my journey to Airbnb. Because I applied for 475 jobs, and I took 50 interviews and then joined Airbnb. So I shared all the experience in the post, and that was also an immediate hit, and people were discussing about it. But I was not thinking about making money or become full-time content creator at all. And I just saw the posts I wrote 5 years ago just kept getting me people's appreciations and connections. I just threw the posts. I stopped doing posts after those 2 viral posts, but I keep getting new connections and people's appreciations, and that made me realize the power of good content. So in 2020, as I said, I was laid off by Airbnb, and I really appreciate that because that made me realize forced me to rethink what I want to do with my life. And I started creating content again because I think this is building my personal, like your brand equity. It's not a product, but you make yourself into a product. And I think this is something that's I can benefit from it in the long term. Also, I can help many, many people. Just focusing on creating good content that help people, and I will benefit from it, and my audience will benefit from it. And I focus on Chinese content now because I just find it easier to share like topics around personal growth and like life philosophy, all those topics in Chinese because I stopped writing writing about data science. And and the Chinese market is a little bit different from here. Like you don't get paid much just by the views or like YouTube video plays. and the monetization methods are similar, but based on different infrastructure. And yeah, so I echo what Regan was saying, that content creator create a lot of content and they don't get paid that much. And yeah, I feel the same. But because people usually think you create content and you are supposed to create content for free, and when you try to make money, they will say, "Oh, you get greedy, and why you want to make money from it?" But yeah, now I think I'm doing pretty well, and I will never go back to work again because I don't care about what other people think. Okay, I create content for you, and I also do a business on top of it. And if you're not happy about it, it's okay. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my life right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think maybe again some other time we could do like how different regions do content and creator business differently, because I think in China it's more cohorts, classes based. It's very similar to the Maven model, but it's a small kind of WeChat has a WeChat group, so it's like think about Discord. So like each WeChat group has like a cohort based communities. I always thought it was pretty interesting, but I think for me, going back to the question you asked earlier, I think we have 4 creators in this group. So I have newsletter. Anthony has a YouTube and TikTok like about sports betting, and then Vanessa has like the Chinese Quora, Zhihu, and then you have the WeChat the video thing going on. But maybe people get inspired, more creators could be born from this.